Through the morning mist, a lone horse staggered toward the outer gate. Its rider clutched the reins with blood-caked hands. His green scout cloak was shredded, his uniform black with dried gore. The rider's face was a study in exhaustion and shock, ash-gray hair matted with dried blood, 3 tally scars on his left cheek. His eyes were hollow gray-blue pools that saw nothing.
Gate open. Sir, what happened? You are covered in blood. Where is the rest of your squad?
The scout didn't answer. He let soldiers pull him from the horse. When a medic approached with bandages, he shoved her back, jaw clenched.
Don't touch me. I don't need a medic. Take me to Commander Akari. Now.
But sir, your injuries.
They're not mine. Now move. Before I make this an order you'll regret.
The guard swallowed his horror and gestured the soldiers forward. They walked through the silent streets. The blood-soaked scout refused every helping hand. Passersby stumbled back, covering their mouths. They reached the scout headquarters. The guards on duty took one look at the apparition and stepped aside without a word. Commander Akari's office was ahead. He did not knock. He pushed the door open with a blood-printed hand and stepped inside. Commander Akari looked up from her maps. The blood-soaked figure before her made her scarred face tighten. She had seen survivors before. Never one this hollow.
Commander, the 57th expedition was ambushed 12 miles out. A single Titan. A 10-meter with a permanent grin. It killed everyone. It was intelligent. It dodged our formations, cut off our retreat. It picked us off like it had a list. I can still hear Rico screaming for help. I tried to lead it away. I thought maybe if I could get it to chase me, the others could escape. But it ignored me. It went for the weakest first. Then it finished with the squad leader. 3 days. I woke up. My horse had pulled me into a cart. The bodies, they hadn't been touched. Not eaten. Just killed. It didn't want food. It wanted the slaughter.
Yuto, listen to yourself. You are not fit to be debriefed. The medics?
I didn't come back to be debriefed. I came back to get permission. I can track it. I know its pattern. Give me a week, and I'll bring back its head.
Absolutely not. You are a soldier, not a vigilante. You'll hand over your gear and report to the medical ward. That's an order.
Yuto's whole body went rigid. For one flickering moment, the deadness in his eyes gave way to something colder. Then he turned on his heel without a word. The guards took him to the barracks. Medic Lena tried to check his pulse. He pulled his arm back and sat on the cot, staring at the wall.
Yuto, you haven't eaten in 2 days. Please, at least drink some water. You need to keep your strength up.
But Yuto only reached for a worn pencil. On a scrap of paper, he began to draw the same face again and again. The grinning Titan filled every page.
Let me clean those wounds before they fester. You are still bleeding. This isn't healthy for anyone.
The door opened and Commander Akari stepped in. Her eyes fell on the papers scattered around the cot. The grin was etched into every sketch.
You are breaking yourself for something that can't be changed. The dead don't need revenge. You need to heal.
They're not asking for revenge. I am. And you are the only one who can give me the chance to take it.
I've lost too many good soldiers to obsession. I won't lose you too. Accept the relief, Yuto. That's final.
The commander turned and left, her boots echoing down the corridor. Yuto didn't move, but his gaze slowly shifted to the corner where his ODM gear lay.
They don't understand. Every time I close my eyes, I see that smile. I hear their screams. I won't sleep until it's dead.
Outside the window, the moon climbed high. Yuto's hand tightened on the pencil. He drew one more line, and then his eyes went to the gear. Yuto crossed to the corner and strapped on his ODM gear. The blades were still chipped, the harness still streaked with dried blood. He pulled a tattered cloak over his shoulders. He slipped out the low barracks window, landing silently in the alley. The guard post was unmanned. The night was his. At the base of the inner wall, he fired his grapples. The wires hissed, yanking him upward. He climbed hand over hand, his breathing controlled. Footsteps sounded above. A patrolling guard. Yuto flattened against the stone, holding his breath as the boots passed by. Then he was over. He dropped onto the outer embankment, rolling to absorb the impact. The walls were behind him now. He broke into a run, sprinting for the tree line. No alarm sounded. No alarm sounded. No one had seen. The moon lit a silver path through the grass.
They'll call it desertion, but the real desertion would be sitting in that barracks while that thing is still out there. I don't need permission. I don't need soldiers. I just need to find that smile and wipe it off this earth.
The trees swallowed him. The night was still, no titans stirring. For the first time in days, he breathed without walls around him. Yuto was outside, alone. The hunt had begun. For days he tracked the grinning hellion through shattered trees and overturned earth. At a muddy stream he stopped to drink, his reflection gaunt and wild.
It isn't wandering. These tracks are heading toward the supply road. It knows where the patrols go.
The forest opened into a clearing. The smell of decay hit him like a wall. 5 scouts sat in a circle, bodies posed with arms linked, faces turned outward.
This wasn't a feeding. It was a message. And every one of them wore the same garrison patch as me.
Yuto knelt beside the youngest one, a girl, maybe 18. Her neck was broken, but her expression was almost peaceful. Flies crawled across her open eyes.
Mina. That was her name. He forced her eyelids shut with trembling fingers and stood.
The ground shook. A 4-meter titan lumbered into view, mindless and hungry. Yuto launched from the branch, blades singing, slicing its nape in one clean arc.
Not him, but good enough. That steam will hang for hours, a beacon for every titan in these woods.
He left the corpse where it fell, the steam curling into the canopy. Then he pulled himself into a high tree, winding a cable around a thick limb. He settled against the trunk, hunger gnawing at his stomach. The forest creaked. He didn't sleep. He just watched the steam and waited. Dawn came, and the steam dissipated. Another mindless titan lumbered into the clearing at noon. Yuto killed it with a single slash, but the forest remained silent.
It's not hungry. It's not stupid. It knows I am here, and it's choosing to hunt elsewhere.
As he descended from the tree, a branch snapped. He plunged 10 feet, a sharp stub tearing a deep gash down his forearm. He pulled the medical kit from his belt and wrapped the wound tight. Blood welled through the bandage almost at once. He noticed a scrap of green fabric on a low branch. The stitching spelled a name, Sarah.
Sarah. She was on my squad roster. Quiet, always checking her gear. I never even learned her last name.
He knelt and built a small fire. With shaking hands, he touched the corner of the scrap to the flame.
I'll carry what's left of you to him. And when I burn that grin, you'll finally rest.
The cloth crumbled to ash. Yuto extinguished the fire and pulled his pack onto his shoulders. He didn't look back. The tracks were growing fainter, but they were still there. The hunt would continue. The path opened onto a rocky clearing. Captain Ryo and 2 scouts waited, their gear fresh and faces grim. Yuto stopped, hand on his blade.
Yuto, Commander Akari figured your route. She sent us to bring you home. Don't make this worse than it already is.
Worse for who? I am not going back until the grinning titan is dead. Tell her I'll answer for desertion after.
You'll answer for it now. We have orders to restrain you.
Ryo reached out. Yuto's hand snapped up, catching the captain's forearm. In one fluid twist, he stripped the knife from Ryo's belt and reversed it. The blade kissed Ryo's throat. The 2 scouts froze. Yuto's gaze never wavered.
Don't make me choose between you and my dead. I'll choose them every time.
You are aiming that at the wrong enemy, Yuto.
Maybe. He released Ryo and stepped back, the knife clattering to the ground. But I won't stop, and you won't stop me.
Ryo rubbed his throat as Yuto vanished into the shadows. He raised a hand to halt his squad. No one followed. The trail ended at a valley choked with mist. Rooftops emerged from the fog like broken teeth, an abandoned village. No birds sang.
The tracks are fresh. It went through here. But why stop in a place like this?
He edged into the main square. At first, he thought the mist had painted statues across the cobblestones. Then, the smell rolled over him. Rows of scout bodies lined the square in perfect formation. Green cloaks draped each one. 2 full squads, 30 soldiers, posed like a parade.
They're not displaying them. They're arranging them. Like an army. The Titan is rehearsing something.
Yuto crouched behind a low stone wall, clamping a hand over his mouth. Bile rose in his throat. He forced it down.
It's been doing this for weeks. While I was tracking, it was hunting. And it knew I'd find this.
The village was silent. No wind, no birds. Somewhere in the fog, a heavy footstep cracked a cobblestone.
It's here. It's been waiting. And now it knows I've accepted the invitation.
He slid his blades from their sheaths. The chipped edges caught the dim light. He wouldn't run. He'd come too far. The fog stirred. Through it, a massive silhouette stepped into the square, 10 meters of Sinnoh and Rictus. The grinning Titan paused among its trophies and tilted its head.
That grin. It hasn't changed. The same mockery I saw when Rico screamed. The same one it wore when Sarah fell.
The Titan turned toward the wall. Its huge feet shifted carefully, stepping around a loose cable, the very trap Yuto had set. It saw it. It knew.
It's not just avoiding it. It's mocking me. That thing knows exactly what I planned.
Yuto didn't wait. He launched from the shadows, blades aimed at the nape. The wires screamed. The Titan didn't even turn. Its hand came up, impossibly fast, and swatted him out of the air. The world turned into spinning brick and splintering wood. He crashed through a roof, then a floor, and landed in a heap of shattered furniture. Blood filled his mouth. One blade was gone. The Titan pushed through the wreckage and looked down. It did not pick him up. It did not beck him up. It did not bite. It simply nodded, a slow, deliberate movement of its chin. Then it turned, the grin still stretched across its face, and walked back into the fog. The footsteps receded into the silence.
It let me live. Why? To prove a point. To toy with me. I'll make you regret that.
Yuto crawled into a cellar, dragging the broken door shut. He slumped against the damp wall, unwound his bandages, and bit down on dried meat. Every swallow was a victory.
It didn't kill me. It wants me alive. That means I have leverage, even if I don't understand it yet.
By candlelight, he pulled out his battered sketchbook. The grinning face stared up from every page. He thumbed through them slowly, as if searching for a crack in the mask.
I've drawn that eye 100 times, but I never noticed this before.
He brought the page close to the flame. There, a tiny fleck of blue within the iris, a detail lost in every other sketch. A human-like fleck.
Blue. That's not a Titan's eye. That's human. What were you before this? And who branded you with that grin?
He slammed the book shut. The Titan was once human, maybe still clung to some remnant. That intelligence could be turned against it. He extinguished the candle and climbed into the gray light. In his pack, he had spare cables, hooks, and enough wire to turn the village into a snare.
If it expects a desperate charge, I'll deny it. I'll weave a web that makes its own cleverness a trap. Let it think, right into my blade.
By sunset, a crisscross of wires hung between the church and the bell tower. He stood back, bandages tight, eyes on the darkening forest. The trap was set. Night fell, and the mist returned, dense and cold. Yuto stood on the church roof, a torn green cloak coiled in his fist. The cobblestones trembled.
There! The grin cuts the fog again. It's furious. I can see it. It knows I am taunting it. Perfect.
He rose and lifted the cloak high, a green ghost in the moonlight. The Titan's roar shattered the silence. It charged, feet pulverizing stone. It barreled into the snare. Cables snapped taut, biting into its shoulders and thighs. It thrashed, entangled, steam hissing from cut skin. Yuto didn't hesitate. He shot through the web, blades extended, and opened a deep wound down its right arm. Steam blasted outward, but the Titan lunged, muscles coiling. Cables popped like gunshots. It tore free, flesh hanging, yet the grin never faltered. Yuto fired his gear and arced over the alley. The Titan's giant hand swiped through empty air, missing by inches. It scrambled onto a rooftop, tiles exploding under its weight. It didn't pause. It bounded after him, crashing through chimney stacks.
Good. Chase me. Every rooftop is a trap. Every alley a deadfall. You are not the predator anymore. I am.
Through the broken village they sped. A dance of wire and rage, the hunt had become a full-throated war. Hours churned past. Yuto's gas canisters coughed, his blades chipped to jagged stumps. The Titan's bleeding arms never slowed.
I am down to my last 2 canisters. I can't keep running. He's wounded too, but he's not slowing.
The church steeple pierced the fog. The Titan vaulted onto its roof and stood still, steam coiling. The grin, a slit of malice. Yuto landed on the bell tower, chest heaving. The gap was a single alley. The Titan's head tilted, waiting.
He's daring me. One final charge. He expects me to break like last time.
The mist behind him stirred. Translucent outlines assembled, a girl with soft eyes, a man with a scarred jaw, a boy clutching a bent gear.
Rico, Sarah, Mina, you never left. You've been carrying me the whole way. I promised I'd bring you here. Now watch me finish it.
He didn't think. A raw scream tore from his throat, and he flung himself from the tower. The broken blade raised high. The Titan's arms rose, eyes glinting. Yuto saw only that grin and the spectral faces at his back, pushing him forward. The Titan's hand closed around the broken blade, steel biting deep into its palm. Black blood sprayed across Yuto's face. He didn't let go. He kicked off the arm and fired his remaining grapples, the hooks sinking into the Titan's shoulder with a wet crunch. Yuto reeled himself onto the broad back, scrambling over steaming hide as the Titan twisted and swatted. The Titan slammed its back against the church wall. Yuto's ribs cracked, his vision going white.
I felt them break. 3 ribs at least. But I am still here. I am still here. I am still moving.
His hand found a ridge of spine, and he pulled himself higher, the broken blade reversed in his grip. He drove the jagged steel into the nape. Steam erupted, but the blade caught on something hard, bone or something else, only 3 inches deep.
Not enough. It's not enough. I need another strike. I need to.
The Titan roared, arching its back violently. Yuto's grapple lines snapped, and he was flung into empty air. He hit the cobblestones spine first, the world tilting. Above him, the Titan turned, the grin unbroken. The Titan's footsteps shook the stones. Yuto's hand brushed a jagged metal shard, a splinter from the shattered bell tower.
One chance. I need one chance. If I can blind that other eye, it swings blind.
He rolled onto his side, ignoring the fire in his ribs. The shard was cold in his hand, sharp as a promise. As the Titan bent to scoop him up, he hurled the shard with every muscle. It spun through steam and struck the left eye socket dead center. The Titan's head snapped back, a guttural roar tearing from its throat. Its hands flew to its face, dark fluid gushing.
Yes, now you see nothing. Now we're even.
Yuto ripped the last gas canister from his belt and jammed it into his gear. The mechanism coughed, then hissed to life. He fired a grapple into the Titan's lower back as it thrashed blindly. The line snapped taut and yanked him upward.
This is all the gas I have. If I don't finish it now, I am dead anyway. No going back.
He slammed onto the Titan's spine, legs wrapping around steaming hide. The nape was above him, and this time he had nothing left but a scream. He clawed upward, fingers hooking into the steaming wound he had carved earlier. The Titan's hands slapped blindly at its back. He reached the nape and ripped the broken blade out of the shallow cut. Black fluid pulsed. He reversed his grip.
Rico, Sarah, Mina. This is for every name I couldn't save.
He stabbed. Again, again. The shard bludgeoned through sinew. The Titan convulsed, crashing sideways through a stone wall. He held on, legs locked, his scream lost in the roar of collapsing masonry. Each stab grew weaker, but more frantic. Steam gushed, blinding him. The Titan's arms flailed, tearing chunks from the church facade.
You feel that? That's the weight of 39 soldiers. That's the weight of 2 more squads. Burn with it.
The Titan's knees buckled, cracking the cobblestones. A low, shuddering groan escaped its throat. It still thrashed, but the movements were slower, more disjointed. The grin was slack now, blood bubbling at its lips. Yuto felt the great body pitch forward. He didn't let go. He kept stabbing, screaming, until there was no voice left. With a final, convulsive effort, Yuto drove the shard to the hilt. The nape gave way with a wet, splintering crunch. The Titan's body went rigid. Its legs crumpled. It pitched forward like a felled tree, the ground shaking. Steam erupted in a great blinding cloud. Yuto was flung off, tumbling over the cobblestones until his back struck a broken wall. He gasped, staring up at the pale sky.
It's dead. Finally, I kept my promise. They can rest now.
The massive body lay a few feet away, steam still hissing from hundreds of wounds. The silence was profound, broken only by Yuto's ragged breaths. He turned his head. The Titan's face was visible through the veil of steam. The grin still locked in place, but the eyes were empty now, dead.
You don't look so smart now. Just another corpse. But when I stabbed deeper, I felt something strange. Something metal.
His hand throbbed. The shard was gone, still buried in the nape. He would have to retrieve it, maybe see if there was anything else inside.
But not yet. I can't move. I can barely breathe.
Dawn light crept over the ruined village, touching the Titan's still form. Yuto closed his eyes, but he did not sleep. He just listened to the steam fade. It took an hour of gritted teeth before Yuto forced himself upright. Every breath splintered his ribs. He crawled toward the Titan's massive head, the nape still gaping. The heat was a wall, but he shoved his arm into the wound. His fingers closed around something solid, wedged deep in scarred tissue.
That's not bone, and it's not my shard. It's shaped. A brand embedded in here.
He pulled the object free. A flat, intricately forged metal brand, still radiating heat. Steam curled around the raised design. Using a torn scrap of cloak, he wiped the gore away. The lines became a noble crest, a stag's head, crowned with antlers.
House Vel. They vanished from the records 40 years ago. The last lord supposedly went mad and fled beyond the walls. The blue fleck in its eye. The cruel intelligence. It was once human, a noble, and someone branded it like an animal.
The brand had been embedded deep in living flesh, not delivered after death. It predated the Titan's transformation.
If one human was turned into a Titan, there could be others. The walls aren't just fighting monsters, they're fighting abominations.
He slipped the brand into his belt pouch and looked toward the distant tree line. The evidence was too important to bury. He would take it back. He gathered shattered beams and torn planks, stacking them in the square. Then he began the slow work of lifting the dead, one by one, onto the pyre.
No more trophies, no more grinning display. You never chose to be arranged like that.
He struck the flint. The spark caught in the dry timber, and flames licked upward, slow at first, then consuming the green cloaks in a rush. He stood back, the brand heavy against his hip, and watched the fire roar into the pale sky. The heat struck his face like a final blow.
The smoke carries their names. Rico, Sarah, Mina, and all the others I never got to bury.
Then he turned his back and walked down the broken road. Out of the valley, the pyre's smoke coiled black behind him.
The walls need to know what I found. A noble house's crest inside a Titan. This changes everything.
The forest closed around him. He moved like a wounded animal, driven by will alone. Each step splintered his ribs, but he didn't stop.
I was Yuto, the squad leader. Then I was the sole survivor. Now I don't know what I am, but I carry the truth.
The brand pressed against his hip with every stride. The road was long, and he didn't look back again. The outer gate rose through the morning haze. A lone figure limped toward it, uniform in tatters, one arm wrapped in blood-stained cloth.
It's him! It's Yuto! Open the gate!
The gate creaked open. Yuto walked through without stopping, his hollow eyes fixed straight ahead. Tommen reached out, but Yuto shouldered past.
Yuto, where's your gear? What happened out there?
Yuto didn't answer. The streets fell silent as he passed. Bystanders pressed against the walls, their whispers like dry leaves.
They're all staring. They see a ghost. That's fine. I am one.
He reached the scout headquarters. The guards on duty recognized him and stepped aside, their faces pale. No one tried to stop him. The door to Akari's office was closed. He didn't knock. The wood groaned as he pushed it open. "Commander," Akari looked up from her reports. The figure in her doorway was more ruined than man. Her quill froze mid-stroke.
The smiling titan is dead. I brought back something you need to see.
With a heavy clink, Yuto placed the metal brand on the polished wood of Akari's desk. She did not look away from his hollow face. Finally, her eyes dropped. She lifted the brand, turning it toward the window. The stag's head seemed almost alive in the pale light.
I cut it from the smiling titan's nape. It's the crest of House Vel.
House Vel? They vanished 40 years ago. You are telling me a titan carried their brand?
The brand was embedded in scar tissue. That titan was once a man of that house. Someone branded him.
How can you be certain? What exactly did you see?
Yuto shook his head, a simple, final gesture. He had no more words to give her. He turned and limped toward the door. Each step a quiet refusal to explain further.
Yuto, wait. We need to talk about this.
But the door closed. She stood alone, the brand clutched in her fingers, its weight speaking of answers she couldn't yet fathom. Yuto limped down the stone corridor and pushed through the records room door. The archivist looked up, startled, and stepped back without a word. He moved between the towers of shelved folders. The dust smelled of old ink and older secrets. His hand found the label, Yuto.
Everything I was is in these pages. Every mission, every promotion, every promise I failed to keep.
He crossed to the iron furnace at the room's far end. The coals glowed orange through the grate. Waiting, one by one, he fed the pages into the flames. The ink curled, the paper blackened, and the heat rose until the ashes swirled.
No more reports. No more ranks. Just the fire.
Commander, Akari stood in the doorway, the brand still in her hand. She made no move to stop him. Her scarred face held only a quiet grief. He fed the last page and watched it vanish. The empty folder lay on the table like a shed skin. He walked past Akari without meeting her eyes. The hall was silent except for the distant furnace's crackle. Akari stood alone in the doorway long after he had gone. The brand felt heavier than any report she'd ever read. He slipped through a forgotten side gate, leaving the walls without a single glance back. The city did not notice. Seasons turned. On a modest farm beyond the outer districts, a man hoed the earth, his movements slow but steady. The fields were silent, the soil dark. He kept a blade tucked under his shirt, always within reach. A child asked if he had once been a scout. He did not answer. He did not answer. He just continued turning the soil. The child ran back to the hamlet. Yuto straightened and looked toward the distant tree line. The forest stood silent as it always had.
The brand is still in that office. They'll study it, question it. Some truths don't need to be spoken aloud.
He wiped sweat from his brow and went back to work. The days were long, the nights quiet. The dead did not visit him here. At dusk, he sat on the porch, sharpening a blade. The edge caught the last light. The world would keep fighting titans, but he had fought the only one that mattered. The rest was for others, and as the sun sank into the earth, he let the brand's mystery rest unspoken, the road behind him empty, the farm a small square of peace.